So in honor of the video I made last week about the best 11 players to have never won the Champions League, do you guys remember that? Well, you should, because it triggered a lot of people in the comments because I said that OG Ronaldo, R9, was better than CR7 Cristiano Ronaldo. And listen, I want to clarify one thing that was going on inside my head when I made that statement. I was comparing them at their peak and not for their complete body of work because yes, I know CR7 has worked incredibly hard, not only to get to the top, but to stay at the top for a long period of time, which is no easy feat, and which is something that I have a massive amount of respect for. And yes, I know CR7 would most likely be a winner of multiple World Cups if he had played for Brazil. And yes, I know I'm probably biased because I played against the OG Ronaldo, so I got to see his greatness with my own eyes, and I didn't get that same opportunity with CR7. But at their peak, when these two are at their very, very best, I still think that R9 was the guy, which makes me believe that this is an age thing. Because people who are older than me say Pelé and Maradona were the best. Pelé. People my age are maybe partial to R9 or Ronaldinho or Zidane, and this generation is blessed to see Messi and Ronaldo on a regular basis. So it makes sense, because I'm old and you're not, that I prefer who I prefer and you prefer who you prefer. So let's leave it there and just be friends before we get all mad at each other again when I trigger you for this video around my best ever 11 from my area of the world, North America, which was inspired by loyal subscriber Look at the Net. Also, let me know what you want me to do for this series in the future. I'm calling it Triggered because I think that makes a lot of sense. It's stating the obvious, and I'm gonna choose one that has a lot of thumbs ups. Thumb ups. Thumbs ups. What the, how do you pluralize that? Thumbs ups, thumb ups, thumbs up, thumbs up. Also, my two stipulations: the players in my top 11 had to spend at least 3 years playing professionally for a club in North America to be considered. So just to clarify, playing for your national team does not count. And it's only based on how these players performed during their time in North America and not what they did with a club somewhere else, which again, doesn't count national team performances. So please keep that in mind when you watch the rest of this video. And furthermore, and I'm not sure who says furthermore anymore, but they should, this was a lot harder than I thought it would be. But let's get started with the goalkeepers. And I'm going with, and man, I can't decide because I played with or against so many of these players that I want to name, and they're all super talented. So I feel like we're splitting hairs here, but Nick Rimando of Real Salt Lake has set most of the records in MLS with most wins, most games played, most shutouts, most penalties saved, but he has never won the league's Goalkeeper of the Year award, which is odd, right? Doesn't really make sense. And then there's Kevin Hartman, who is second to Rimando on this list in most of these categories, but I'm never gonna forget his mistake in the 1999 MLS Cup final where he flubbed his clearance and it went right to DC United's Ben Olsen, who said, thank you very much, which ended up in Hartman's LA Galaxy losing, which sadly are the crap plays that people remember you by. So I'm sorry I'm doing that here, Kev. And then there's Brad Friedel, Tim Howard, and Casey Keller, but they all didn't play in the league very long and are more known for their European and national team careers. And same with Jorge Campos, who's an obviously talented player, but was he the best goalkeeper of all time in North America during his stints with the LA Galaxy and MLS and during his time in Mexico? I'm gonna say no. So to solve this conundrum, so I don't have to pick one friend over another, I'm going with Osvaldo Sanchez because he let me score against them when the US played Mexico. And in case you haven't seen that goal, roll the tape.
That has to be a major target on this play.
Number 4 for the United States. Lennon sends it in, the header, and it's into the back of the net. The United States strikes, and it's Jimmy Conrad. Jimmy Conrad finds the net. 1-0 USA.
Also, Sanchez is considered one of the best goalkeepers in Mexican history, winning 3 Liga MX titles and 1 Copa MX. So he's not a slouch by any stretch of the imagination, but yes, this is my way of not hurting anyone's feelings, especially 2 of my favorites that I ever played with, Joe Cannon and Matt Reese, who were super talented and, in my opinion, very underappreciated. So don't at me. And then in the back, I'm going with 3 veterans, and they are Chad Marshall, who is the only 3-time recipient of the MLS Defender of the Year award, who also won 2 MLS Cups with with 2 different clubs, the Columbus Crew and the Seattle Sounders, and a US Open Cup with the Sounders too. And Claudio Suarez, who is one of my favorite defenders of all time because despite not being tall or super athletic, his positioning and anticipation and understanding of the game made him a legend, and it was an honor to play against him during his time in MLS with Chivas USA. Also, to cement Suarez's status as the man, he played almost 500 Liga MX games and won 2 league titles, one with Pumas and one with Chivas Guadalajara. And then finally, the player I looked up to most and wanted to be just like when I was in college, it's Eddie Pope, who scored the golden goal winner for DC United in the first ever MLS Cup in 1996, then followed up that year by winning the MLS Defender of the Year, then was on the list 4 times for the league's best 11, and he also won 3 MLS Cups and 1 US Open Cup, and helped DC United to become the first MLS team to win the CONCACAF Champions League back in 1998. And then in my 2 holding midfield positions in front of the back 3, I'm going with Mr. Consistent Pablo Pardo, who played in over 500 Liga MX games, mainly for Club America, and won 2 league titles. And Pablo Mastroianni, who not only always showed up for the biggest games and was tough as nails, but he captained the rarely respected Colorado Rapids to their only MLS Cup win in 2010, and I assure you, that is a huge accomplishment because those guys usually aren't very good. And honestly, with those 5 guys holding it down in the back, I'm not sure it really matters who the goalkeeper is because they're not going to have much work to do anyway. Also, the defensive intelligence of these 5 guys is so high, it's going to give a ton of freedom to the 5 guys in the attack. But this is where it gets a little crazy because there are so many good players to choose from. However, I'm going to go with the obvious first, and it's Landon Donovan, who won 6 MLS Cups, 1 Open Cup, 1 League MVP award, 2 MLS Cup MVP awards, and was a 7-time League Best 11 member with his 144 goals and 136 assists, which I think these individual and team accolades speak for themselves about why he should be included in this team. And next to him, I really wanted to put Carlos El Pibe Valderrama here, but despite his 114 career assists in MLS and 1 league MVP trophy that he got in the first year of the league's existence, he never won a team trophy, and I think that team trophies matter. So I'm going with Marco Echeverri to pull the strings because the Bolivian maestro was so influential in DC United winning 3 MLS Cups and the CONCACAF Champions League and an Open Cup during his time with the team that I feel like he was a pretty easy pick once I sifted through all of the names and their accomplishments. Plus, the guy can pass. He's so good. Go check out his highlights. And then on the other side of him, and I think you can see what I'm doing here, I'm going with a 3-5-2 formation, or maybe it's more like a 3-2-3-2, with Echeverri sitting behind the 2 strikers and in between 2 guys out wide, one of which is Landon. Well, the other one is Cuauhtémoc Blanco, who is a very special player who I actually thought won more trophies than he did. That's right, he only won 1 league title in Mexico with Club America, but he did win 2 Copa MX trophies and 2 CONCACAF Champions League titles to go with it, so that's pretty good. But maybe even more importantly than that, he stands out from the rest because of his playing style. He oozed creativity and risk-taking and being an entertainer, and I really feel like the modern game misses what he brought to the table. So if you've never seen highlights of him before on YouTube, I'll put that link in the description because the guy was next level. And then finally, up top, I immediately want to go with Hugo Sanchez, the Mexican legend who had a tremendous career for Real Madrid before coming back to play in Liga MX and MLS, but he only won 1 trophy during his time in North America, the CONCACAF Champions League with Club America. And that's not that many trophies for a guy of his stature. And then there was George Best, a Manchester United legend who played for many years in the States in the NASL but never won anything of consequence. So instead, I'm going with Giorgio Canaglia, who scored 193 goals during his time with the New York Cosmos, winning 4 league trophies along the way. And this was way before MLS ever existed in the early 80s. And the guy, and you have to trust me on this, was just a beast. And next to him, and I might be a little too early saying this since he's still playing, but I'm going with Sebastian GIOVINCO, who is easily one of the most electric players that MLS has ever seen. He is so good, and his talent not only got him named as MLS MVP in his first season and in the league's best 11 every year that he's been here, which is a total of 3, he also helped Toronto FC finally win their first MLS Cup and the first treble in MLS history last season. And honestly, his presence is helping set the stage for his club to be a dynasty for years to come. But they got to win that CONCACAF Champions League to cement that status, and I hope that they do. So all right, that is it. But who did I miss in your eyes? Jared Borghetti, DeMarcus Beasley, Guillermo Barros Schelotto, Clint Dempsey, Luis Hernandez, Peter Novak, Preki, David Villa, Dwayne De Rosario, Jeff Agus. Carlos Ruiz, Jaime Moreno, Osvaldo Alonso, Brian McBride, Taylor Twellman, Brian Ching, Rafa Marquez, Ramon Ramirez, Carlos Salcido. Let me know your thoughts as always, and let me know which best 11 you want me to do next, and I'll do my best to make you happy. Later.